This is the story of a man who drags the entire world into his little role-playing fantasy without even realizing it. He's simultaneously the richest, the strongest, and the most powerful man, and yet also too goofy to realize that it's all actually true. Now make sure you've watched the first part of this recap, guys, otherwise you're going to be more lost than Zoro from One Piece. Okay, we're going to continue the story from right where we left off. From right when Aurora, the Witch of Calamity, kisses Cid and hopes that one day they can meet again for real. That he can meet her in her real physical form and not just her memories. Then there's Alexia and Rose. Now that they are far too down the rabbit hole, they are also more confused than ever before. Just what is the Shadow Garden plotting? They think about it for a good few months and decide that in order to keep both the cult and Shadow Garden in check, they are going to need their own organization. Now, as they are planning to form their own organization, Natsume is with them and they also offer her to be part of it. Keep in mind that Natsume is actually Beta from Shadow 7, who is disguised as a published, world-recognized author. She obviously agrees to join them. What could be a better way to keep spying on them? By the way, going back to the cult, we know that they are planning to revive the demon Diablos, but here, when Alpha goes through the archives of the sanctuary, she finds out something interesting. The demon Diablos was actually Aurora, the Witch of Calamity. What's going on? The obvious guess is that the cult merely seeks to harness her power for their own goals, and this in turn gives Alpha more of an urgency to continue expanding their influence as the Shadow Garden. In the wake of this, the Shadow Garden buys most of the city of Madlid as real estate. It's cool because they're only doing it to open shopping malls and other commercial spaces. But of course they have an agenda, and this time it is about oil. They want to get access to all the oil that's under the city. Whoa, this is turning out to be a lot like our modern world, except they're actually taking control by investments and not by going to stupid wars. Alexia tells her sister Princess Iris about her plans and what she learned, and Iris is ready to go through with them, especially now that they know how the cult is involved with the church as well, but right now she lacks any political power to make a difference. She'll have to get a win and increase her social value, and to that end she's planning on winning the Bushin Festival. Yeah, she will definitely win. There's too much riding on it. Then there is Rose. Unfortunately, she discovers that she has gotten infected by the demonic blood. Okay, so how is winning the Bushin Festival going to increase Iris's political power? It's because it's a major festival where warriors and mages from all over the world come together to show the world who's the boss. It's like the Olympics, if you will, except instead of a sport, you have one-on-one duels. When Cid learns about it, you bet he wants to participate. He loves this sort of thing. He will pretend to be weak and powerless at first, but then surprise everyone by defeating them all. Though of course he can't go about it while looking like Cid, so he needs a disguise. He consults Gamma about it, and she uses her slime makeup to quite literally change his face. The next question is, what is he going to call himself? He decides on Mundane Man, a mundane knight who lacks both skills and status. He's average, there's nothing special about him whatsoever, or so the story goes in Cid's head. When another participant, a knight named Anaros, sees that he'll be participating as well, he goes up to him and advises him to not enter the Bushin Festival. She's genuinely concerned about him. And it's not her either. There's another one named Quinton. He wants to teach Mundane Man how rough it'll be out there in the festival. Mundane Man provokes him by suggesting that even if he's weak, he must at least be stronger than him. This pisses Quinton off, so he starts trying to beat the Mundane Man. Anna Rose, on the other hand, observes that no matter how much Quinton attacks the Mundane Man, he is showing no signs of injuries or any kind of damage at all. Interesting. Later, Cid talks to his friend Scal. Note that he is not in his Mundane Man disguise. Whenever he is Mundane Man, we'll call him Mundane Man. Whenever he's Cid, we'll call him Cid. And whenever he is the Shadow, we'll call him the Shadow. Now, he talks to Skel about who'll win. Skel reveals that there are a few warriors who are heavily favored by everyone. These include Iris, Rose, Anaros, Quinton, and Dark Knight, but they don't know the Dark Knight's name. Following this, Cid bumps into Rose. She's a bit stressed. She tells him about how she became friends with Alexia and Natsume, and then gets concerned and tells him that her father has chosen a fiancé for her. The guy's name is Perv Asshat, and you know it's bad when your prospective fiancé's name is Perv Asshat. Cid didn't know that Rose is actually madly in love with him and wants to marry him, but he did feel bad for her, and so he advised her to simply follow her heart and do whatever would make her happy, and not about what her father wants. Next, the tournament begins, and guess what? Mundane Man wins his first fight without even moving at all. Everyone is disappointed and their day is ruined. The way they see it, his opponent self-destructed or something like that, and Mundane won by default. But Anna Rose saw it. She saw how Mundane simply moved too fast for any of them to see. And about Rose, remember how in Vinland Saga, Gudrid stabs her Sigurd because she didn't want to marry him. She actually wanted to go to sea? The same thing happens here. Rose follows Cid's advice, he stabs Perv Asshat and runs. The only difference is that Perv Asshat is about as sus a man can get. Alexia is devastated when she learns of this news. They don't know what actually happened or if the news is misreporting. But she wants to help her friend. She wants to help Rose out of this situation. Natsume helps her calm down though, as it turns out, she already knows about Rose's current whereabouts. Going back to our main character, he ends up encountering an elf who looks exactly like Alpha. Her name is Beatrix, and it seems she's looking for her niece. Obviously, her niece is Alpha. And then there is a tournament. Mundane is going to fight someone named Goldie, and everyone is quite curious about how this will go, especially Quentin and Anna Rose. But Goldie is knocked unconscious with not even a punch but a sneeze. Yes, he sneeze-diffed. Just who exactly is Mundane Man? This reminds me a lot of the martial arts tournament from One Punch Man. Is Mundane Saitama? Meanwhile, Princess Iris meets Perv Asshat to learn more about what's happened, but she can't help but notice that man isn't injured at all. There are no signs of a stabbing. Well, we're going to jump back into the tournament, and it seems the hype is finally picking up because Mundane beats Quentin. This is insane in everyone's eyes because Quentin was one of the fan favorites to win the whole thing. And for what it's worth, Anna Rose is his next opponent. She tries a little intimidation tactic but backs off when she realizes that Mundane Man's armor weighs like over a ton. That isn't even the most surprising part. His armor is so heavy and yet he can still move so fast that people can't even see? That's the most surprising part. Cid's sister visits him later that day, but instead of actually conversing with his sister like a good little brother, he bails after saying that he's going to search for Rose and get that reward. He says that, but to be fair, Cid admires Rose for risking everything and following her heart. Cid then overhears someone playing the piano. It's Epsilon from Shadow 7. She explains that she has become a painist to develop more connections throughout the kingdom. It's amazing how dedicated these girls are for the sake of Shadow 7. And then there's Cid, who thinks it's just them role-playing. Alexia and Natsume conclude that the reason Rose did what she did and ran away must be because Perv is not who they think he is. What if he's a cultist as well? What if he brainwashed the king into making his daughter marry him? Who is the king? It's Rose's father. As for Rose herself, where is she? She was in hiding thanks to Natsume, but now she's not sure. Her kingdom is unstable because of what she did, and her body is getting all messed up because of the demonic blood, which infected her. She's not sure what to do. Maybe she should just surrender to whatever fate awaits her. But just when she is at the verge of giving up, Shadow appears out of nowhere. He plays some piano which eases her mind. He also uses his powers to cure her of the infection, and then gives her some powers that she can use to fight her fate. He leaves just like that. Yep, Shadow enters the room, encourages Rose, cures her, gives her powers, and leaves. Refuses to elaborate. Thanks to him, Rose is ready for anything. When the cultists enter the chat and try to kill her, she kills them, and then sets out to make things right by foiling whatever the cult is plotting. Cid, on the other hand, is glad that he was able to play piano underground, though when he returns to his place, his sister is not happy at all. She was waiting for him all this time, after all. He gets punished by his sister for making her wait, but she then reveals how she'll be fighting in the festival. Since Rose isn't fighting, she's going to fight in her stead. And so, she wants him to watch her fight. She wants him to watch her fight from the VIP seating portion. Sure enough, when time comes, Cid pulls up as Cid to the VIP seating position and sits next to Iris. The two of them have a conversation about the festival and how the true identity of the Dark Knight is Beatrice. She also happens to be the elvish war goddess. And this is where Cid realizes that she is Alpha's aunt. Be that as it may, it's time for Mundane Man's match with Anna Rose. Cid excuses himself before leaving the VIP seating section. He puts on his disguise and enters the arena, but because he left his seat, Perv Asshat ends up sitting there instead. It's clear that Iris is disgusted by this guy, especially when he mentions how Rose will return, and she will become his bride. Whatever, let's focus on the fight. Anna Rose tries everything. She tries as hard as she can, but even so, she was unable to match his speed. She didn't even come close. Mundane Man wins, and he's going to the next fight. against Iris. Anna Rose is overall a sweet girl. She even asks Mundane Man if he'd like to come to her nation. But nah, Mundane Man has other plans. In Cid's head, he's going to win it all as Mundane Man and just never show this disguise to the world ever again. So effing legendary! Though before that, he forgets to watch Claire's match. So, well, no worries, he's just going to watch her next match. He sits down next to Iris and Beatrice. Meanwhile, there's Perv. He's actually drugging the king. As expected, he's part of the cult, and they drug the king to have their way. Now he's making sure to overdose the king so that Rose has no choice but to show herself to save her father. Absolutely disgusting levels of evil. And once he's done with Oriana's king, who is Rose's father, he's planning on doing the same to the king of Midgar, who is of course the father of Alexia and Iris. He's going to plunge the world into chaos. Now we cut back to the tournament. Cid's sister Claire wins her match, but the way she sees it, Cid wasn't there to see her win again. Even though he was there, he's just disguised as Mundane Man because it's time to fight Iris. Iris tries to seem ready, but her instincts are raging. She can tell that if Mundane Man goes all out, she will definitely die. And that's what would happen. But then again, Mundane Man defeats her without killing her. The thing is, there's no time for the audience to process this upset, because Rose pulls up together with the Shadow Garden. Her father, who was also there, was in deep, almost incomprehensible levels of pain because of the drugs. But she somehow swallows her heart and takes her father's life. She does it to end her father's suffering. This catches Perv off guard. He never expected her to be so bold. And what does Rose do next? She tries to kill herself. This will be her salvation for killing her father. That's when Mundane Man steps in. He stops her as much as he would have loved to remain a legend as the Mundane Man. He finally reveals to the world that he is the Eminence and Shadow. And you know what? Rose recalls a memory from her past where a kid inspired her to pick up the sword. It was actually Cid, back when he used to hunt bandits. He saved her on this one time, and this realization gave Rose the strength to fight back. For the time being, she leaves the scene. Shadow is still there, of course. As far as the festival is concerned, his final opponent will be the Dark Knight, Beatrice. Though the way she sees it, Shadow is nothing but an international terrorist, and so she braces herself to fight and defeat him on the spot instead of waiting for their match to actually begin. Iris also joins her in this fight against Shadow. She knows that as powerful as she is, even Beatrice can't defeat Shadow by herself. Subsequently, Alpha finds Rose and asks her to join them. She asks Rose to become a member of the Shadow Garden, and considering all that happened and how her true allies other than her friends have been the Shadow Garden, she joins. Now questions asked. As for the fight, Shadow summons an attack that is powerful and destructive enough to completely vaporize the entire city, and beyond almost instantly. This is where Iris and Beatrice just stop and get terrified over the anticipation of what can and what may happen next. It's insane. However, before he can unleash the attack, he just disappears from sight. He disappears with the attack and nothing happens. Iris is pissed because she feels insulted, while Beatrice is just sad that at the end of the day, she couldn't find her niece. It's heartbreaking. Honestly, because we know that her niece is basically the number 2 individual of Shadow Garden. She's second only to Shadow himself. Hopefully Beatrice will get to see her in the second season. For now, the news of this incident is spread far through the lands and seas. Every country learns about it. Even Sherry, who is in a distant land, learns of the news, and she feels pure rage because from her perspective, it was Shadow who killed her father. Whatever, it's not like Shadow cares. Shadow Garden continues their operations, and they're definitely going to become the greatest and most influential organization in the world. Alpha takes Rose to a hidden place around Cid's village, where they find the ancient kingdom of Alexandria. It's actually their base, and here Rose is given code number 666. Wait, isn't that basically the devil number? Nah, it just means she is 666 in the hierarchy. She's starting from 0 after all. Finally, there's Cid. He's been enjoying all that has been going on recently, especially the role-playing events. Little did he know it's all real. The cult, the ancient heroes, the demon, Diablos, it's all real. This season ends with him playing piano, but guys, just know that the Eminence and Shadow has only just begun. The second season is already airing, so if you want me to continue recapping this goofy story, make sure you spam that like and subscribe button. And also subscribe to the channel, guys, it means a lot. And feel free to mention any story you want me to recap next. As for the story of Eminence and Shadow so far, what do you think? Let us know in the comments section down below.